Vivinos is a Korean animation channel that has covered a wide variety of topics and genres in the past. Mainly horror. We've seen music videos, tragedies, as well as creatures beyond explanation. However, after the beautiful tragedy that was Alien Stage, it's almost been a year actually, Vivinos is seemingly not done with this world, or at least not done with these characters, and I mean that in both a writing sense, with Vivinos returning to showing us stories about the characters we know from Alien Stage, but also in a more literal sense, as these characters, though thought to be dead, aren't quite done just yet. But with this little preamble out of the way, it has been a very long time since I've done something like this. But let's talk about Vivinos and their latest video, round 1 of Zombie Stage, which I guess means we're going to be getting a lot more of these in the future, which is pretty cool. And since I've technically been covering Vivinos for God knows how many years now, it looks like I'll be covering them for a few more. Also, what happened to the Pink Bitch Club? Don't ask me. I'm fine listening to Otomeroid on repeat for now. But let's get into the topic of this video and jump into the first round of Zombie Stage. But quickly, there is something that needs to be explained. You see, how is this possible? A good chunk of the cast from Alien Stage are either dead or missing, and if they're still alive, they're full-grown adults by the time of Alien Stage's finale, which is aptly enough not titled Final, okay? But how are we in another story with these characters? Well, in my opinion, if we look all the way back at a previous Alien Stage video, we can get an answer to our question back in Vige, or Vig, I don't remember how to pronounce it, it's been a while since I made a video, but we get a brief look into the possible lives that the cast of Alien Stage could have had they been in a normal, more true to our world setting, without aliens and alien slavery and all that lovely stuff. We see an alternate version, another universe, an AU with the characters we all know, which means that it's possible that what we see here in Zombie Stage is just that, another alternate universe, so to speak. It's still the characters we know, and they have the same characterizations, just not the same experiences, as they live in a much different world as to the one we see in Alien Stage. So yes, while this isn't a flat-out sequel, it's more of an Elseworld story, so to speak. But there's a lot to discuss regarding the actual content of this first round, so let me get into the actual video. But do keep in mind, there was also a teaser that was released for Zombie Stage, and I will be referring back to it when necessary for context of stuff shown in round 1. The video itself starts off with a close-up of Mizzy, bruised and bloody, which is a thing we see quite commonly in Alien Stage rounds. It's neat to see this pattern repeated. But here she is twitching after she has beaten something to death with a rock. We then come to see that she has beaten a rat to death specifically, and is watching it slowly die. Then we get some lyrics come in. I'll be only mentioning lyrics sparingly as they're quite on the nose, but I will make note of some here. Those bound by iron chains now, they still stare towards the night. We then cut to a zombie chained up, unblinking, slowly breathing, with a crude cardboard sign next to it reading 80% off. Just from this alone, we can tell that this isn't a traditional piece of zombie media, in the sense that here zombies are a commodity, a thing to be sold and bought, not feared and hidden from. We then see what the zombie itself was staring up at, and as the camera changes angles, we see that it exists in a sort of slum. Those who are infected are forced underground. We then cut back to Mizzy. However, she is now joined by Sue. Sue, of course, comforting Mizzy, as she has done consistently throughout Alien Stage, and here too. As a tear runs down Mizzy's face, we notice that the two are in school uniforms here, which normally wouldn't be of anything of note, but considering the context of Alien Stage, it's neat to see that here they're normal kids instead of, they're in school uniforms, they're normal, they're in school, not in gowns reminiscent of test subjects and lab rats, meaning that in this world, it's seemingly more down-to-earth and similar to our own at this point, for the most part, at least until we get to the zombie stuff. Wounded souls, still breathing, glory be upon them. We get a shot panning up from the darkened street, pushing through the infected with limbs missing and chunks of flesh gone. We push past them, past a gate towards a whimsical and childlike circus to juxtapose the gore and guts beyond its gates. We get a jack-in-the-box emblazoned with the word fight, as we see a zombified Mizzy and Sue enter the stage. Their names behind them to confirm their identity, as even with their hair colours and demeanour being the same, these characters look very different to how we've seen them prior. Mizzy is missing what seems to be most of her face, and now in the shape of a love heart, and hunks of flesh around her neck are missing, while Sue is missing most of the left side of her head, or it's at least infected, but despite this, both seem eager and hyped to perform on stage. Similarly to how they were back in the first round of Alien Stage until, things the first round ended. Yet, despite the guts and gore, there is a much more playful tone to this ordeal at the start. Even though these characters are literal walking corpses, infected, zombies, the song is more of a traditional idol song when compared to the ballads and sadness surrounding most of Alien Stage's music. And Mizzy and Sue seem happier too, dancing happily as fans with headbands and glow sticks celebrate their performance. Under the same sky, carving the same dream. You and I are connected. 1, 2, 3 sparkle. We then get a flashback, reminiscent of a lot of Vivinos' older stuff, like Magical Girl Ruru and Suki Suki Daisuki, that sort of stuff, showing us Mizzy and Sue's process of becoming idols, or at least trying to become idols with their first attempt, because they're not very good in their youth. It's okay if we're clumsy, so what if we miss each other? Together we can do it, sweet, sweet taste, when you're out of breath, SOS me. Sue continues singing as we see the two go through more of their lives. Sue braiding Mizzy's hair, the two of them graduating. Then Mizzy says the two of them should try being K-pop idols again since, they're older and they've graduated. All the while, we see familiar lyrics from previous songs. You are my god, you are my universe. They train, they practice and get ready for the audition, and all for the judges to only want Mizzy and not Sue. Genuinely, no matter the universe, these two are doomed from every single angle, and as this proceeds, we'll see these two get in worse and worse situations. But we see how initially, when Mizzy first took off on her own as an idol, she felt bad for Sue, but over time that very much changes. We then see two dudes with what seem to be goat masks throwing knives at Mizzy as she's restrained to a spinning board. This is then interspliced with suggestive videos of Mizzy, maybe alluding to Mizzy doing stuff she's less than proud of for fame. But as the scores tally up, we see Mizzy everywhere on billboards. She's a celebrity now, but she's not the same person anymore. I mean, just look at this character. Who the fuck is this person? That's not Mizzy, I don't know who this is, but god damn it looks uncanny. Sue is obviously disheartened by this new version of Mizzy before her, and then we get something a bit more messed up. We get a gallery of body parts that have been removed from the previous infected participants of Zombie Stage. Firstly, an arm from someone named Mino. I don't know who you are, maybe they were a random one-off person from Alien Stage, I sure as hell don't remember them. Secondly, the face of some poor infected girl called Kate. And then thirdly, we see Mizzy's eyes, explaining her lack of them on stage, and they are labelled the perfect gift. We then see some more of the stuff that Mizzy has done for fame, with like TikToks and people's fan cams, and just her being suggestive for the sake of notoriety. We then see her walking along the street with Sue, about to light up a smoke, until Sue stops her, confronting the person she's turned into, so Mizzy slaps her. This is such a far, far cry to the versions we saw of these two characters in Alien Stage, and it's a very interesting change in their dynamic to see. Sue then clings to Mizzy, trying to get her to be the person she used to be, only for Mizzy to see herself as she was when she was younger, beaten and bruised, as her current self won't let her go. Mizzy then screams at Sue and storms off, all for a random strolling infected to walk towards her and follow her path. We cut back to Sue, singing on stage. Even if we break, it's alright. These ragged breaths, proof of love, that make us tingle, melting away completely, just like this. We then see the news stories, talking about the spread of the virus. It seems all places of infection have been sectioned off and guarded to prevent the spread. Despite that fact, Sue goes into an infected area alone, and then we cut back to Sue on stage. At last we become perfectly whole. She opens her dead eyes as the lights hit the stage, and we are met with some more lyrics. Love, smile, boom, smile, it's okay, it's okay. And we get those lyrics accompanied by this very cutesy image, okay? And the fans are absolutely eating this up as Sue continues to sing, even if it crumbles, together until the end. Not scary at all. Then Mizzy sings, this place is already paradise. Living is fine, dying is fine. And then we cut back to Sue in the infected zone, capturing an infected Mizzy, binding her. You're mine, Chew, will rot away together. Beautifully insane, only you and me. Sue then blushes and cries as she approaches the infected Mizzy, and we then see the two holding hands on stage. A cruel and just as twisted reflection of what we've seen previously in Alien Stage. We then see the two of them holding hands again, but as humans, as the scores tally up again, yet repeating what we've seen before. Mizzy wins, Sue loses, but there's a question raised. The two of them are infected, so she wouldn't die from what happened in Alien Stage. She'd probably be messed up, but she wouldn't die, so how do you punish the loser here? What happens next? We then get glimpses of Sue kissing Mizzy at different points during childhood, on stage as a zombie, and when Mizzy was captured so that Sue could infect herself. And this is met with a happy text screen saying that this is in fact the happy end. But don't let the word end fool you here. This vid has quite a chunk left to show you, as we see Hyuna, of all people, the world now in black and white, looking very similar to how it did in the teaser. Hyuna herself is clearly very shaken about what she's just seen and what she's about to see, despite her showing clearly that she is very much aware of what happens to the infected underground in this post-zombie infection society. As shown in the teaser, it may be a different universe, but Hyuna is still very much a freedom fighter here. Sue is then dragged off for what is called auction time, and this is a scene that is very reminiscent of Dead Man Wonderland, if any of you have seen it, where we see what appears to be Sue's arm being chopped off as Mizzy continues to sing in the background of this bleak scenario. Given the name of auction time as well, since we saw earlier that Mizzy's eyes were being described as the perfect gift, we can gather that Sue's arm will suffer a similar fate, and it will be packed up into a nice glass case and presented to the highest bidder. And we then see the rat from the start of the video, still dead on the floor, and as rain begins to pour, whistling is heard in the background. And we can see another infected in chains and restrained, but from this one shot of their tsundere snaggletooth, it is very much clear to see that this is this universe's version of Ivan. And as he sighs, the video ends. Now, conclusion time. This is something I've wanted from Vivinos for a very long time. My favourite era, so to speak, of Vivinos was the earliest stuff, all the horror-focused music videos were my absolute jam, like Suki Suki Daisuki, Magical Girl Ruru, My September. I absolutely adore that era and the more hardcore horror-focused stuff. I mean, Beloved is still creepy as hell now to watch. If you haven't watched it in ages, go back and watch Beloved. It's still super freaking creepy. It's great. Whilst I, did enjoy Alien Stage, it was fun and intriguing, I feel like this new coat of zombie paint is something I can really look forward to. And as a result, I'm so hyped to see what Zombie Stage has in store for us. But the world Vivinos has created this time is very similar to what you would see at the end of Shaun of the Dead, or something you see in the world of Dead Rising, where a zombie plague strikes the world, but it is kind of quickly dealt with, and whilst there was sudden hysteria for a big infection, it kind of gets solved, and as a result zombies aren't something to be feared after their initial major outbreak, and as a result they're just used for entertainment purposes. Yes, it seems people may have been afraid initially, like people would be in real life, as we see sections where the infection was, cornered off and heavily guarded, but after the world has dealt with the infection, zombies are just seen as a method to entertain people, as well as more than likely free labour. Another couple things of note, we know from the teaser that the next round will more than likely in fact be Ivan and Till, which, hell yeah, and the finale will be Luca. A question also gets raised from this though. Does this mean there will be a significantly less amount of rounds and videos overall surrounding this AU or alternate universe when compared to the original Alien Stage? Probably. Alien Stage had plenty of videos and a lot of rounds, but as a result, Zombie Stage will more than likely be a lot more fast-paced, as we've already been exposed and introduced to these characters before, and in turn, because of that, we don't need as much downtime to explain as much of their backstories and relationships, or just characterizations, because we know who these characters are. Another thing of note I noticed was that a lot of these lyrics are very much on the nose, and not mega symbolic for the most part, except some of the stuff at the very end, as the stuff Mizzy is singing about at the end when Sue is suffering from a severe case of auction time. She sings about a white rabbit, and a white rabbit has been used to symbolise Mizzy in past videos, so it's very interesting to see what lyrics they'll use in the future to sneak references in to the original Alien Stage. Like, My God, My Universe being a lyric was a nice little callback. But overall, I have very much enjoyed this first round of Zombie Stage, and I'm very hyped to see where it goes. Hopefully you're hyped to go on this journey with me too, as I'm very excited to cover Vivinos again with some good old-fashioned horror stuff. But with that being said, does my doodles. I'll see you in the next one. Peace. Oh, and yeah, like, comment and subscribe and shit.